I don't know how many people are using AI already, or if you're familiar with it, or if it feels a bit scary, or it feels like we're going to lose control of our entire world, which it can do. But we've been using AI at Fortis for a few months now, and it just has really helped us with lots of things that we're doing. And I think it's the kind of future. It's a bit like garlic bread. It's coming. So it's really interesting, and having looked at the platform that David has, it's an amazing opportunity to actually save time, you know, and actually have something that helps you. So really interested to hear what David has to say. So thank you, David. Just pop it in there. Okay.
So, how many of you actually use AI at the moment? ChatGPT, I would have thought, is quite popular. Yeah? It's quite interesting. I've got some great statistics later that you'll be amazed at. How many are you actually in the education sector teaching children? 16? Great. Okay, well, we built this for you. Yeah, so how did it all start? Well, I thought I had a complicated subject until I listened to you and you, so this is quite simple, okay? You're going to find it really easy to understand. It's not as daunting as you all think. AI is made up of, imagine your brain. Imagine you have your temporal lobe that covers language. It understands. Imagine a baby being born, being able to understand English, in fact understand many languages, but not have anything else, a blank baby, if you like, but that can already understand English and learn. And that's what an LLM is. You'll hear this word, and certainly in the future you'll hear it a lot more. It's a large language model. And that's what a lot of the Google and the OpenAI have produced, and there's many more being produced as we speak. They're the base model. Your temporal lobe deals with that, the language side of things. But what feeds that language is other parts of our brain that have the data, the memories, what we've learned, how to behave. And that's the rest of it. That's the data. Now, let's go back to Chat and OpenAI. They actually produced an LLM, an amazing LLM. And they said, right, how are we going to teach this LLM? And you could imagine a room full of techs like myself, all sat there thinking, how are we going to educate it? So one guy puts, hey up, I know how we can educate it. Why don't we put it on the web? You never know, he might have been a Yorkshireman. But let's imagine that we've put it, let's put it on the web, let it learn everything. Wow, what a great idea, because that's where we use our, we always look stuff up on the web. Great idea. Hang on, before you start it going, let me just switch off the parent control, because it needs to read everything. So off it goes. Many millions of pounds later, it had read the internet. And then it puts it out to everybody. We looked at Chat, and the internet isn't all correct. The internet is full of comedy and whatever else, false statements, Wikipedia. They didn't get access to the good stuff that sits behind it, what we sell and all that intellectual property that we have. It just read the web. So what do you get out when you put a certain item in? You don't get the right answers always, and it struggles. We got our LLM, and I gave mine to teachers, because this baby that doesn't understand anything other than how to learn, we shouldn't be letting it do that, in my opinion. We should be monitoring the data that it uses. It should be clean, and it should be correct. And what concerned me about this is that many people and many teachers, in fact, I'll come to the figures in a minute, 50% of teachers use ChatGPT to create lessons. They're learning from a system that isn't monitored of whether that intellectual property it's learned from is correct. Since when do we say to children, let's go to the internet to learn? Off you go, kids. Just log on and everything you read is correct. Because it's not. We wouldn't dream of doing it. We criticise parents for doing it. And I feel that I felt very strongly that I needed to develop a system that I controlled the data in, and ultimately you control the data in too. So we gave ours to teachers, and we also built into there where teachers could actually teach it too. So you could actually take our system, and you could feed all the information in of everything you teach as a school or in an academy. And then your teachers could use that information, and you are safe in the knowledge that what's coming out of that AI is correct. So that's how we got to where we were. And we built that system. And how does AI help? I mean, you probably all touched on it. It's great, it saves you loads of time. It really does. It can write letters, it can write lesson plans, it can do everything you want it to do. I mean, ours will actually translate. One of the people that was using it actually got it to write a letter to parents and translated it into 5 different languages. It took minutes, 3 or 4 minutes to do. How long would that have took you normally? So you've then got legal requirements, like yourself. You've got legal requirements that you have to uphold. You've got legislation you need to put in. Isn't it nice to just load that legislation and know that every different decision it makes, or every application of a question it answers, covers that for you? And that's what this does. It won't replace teachers. We're not looking about replacing teachers. We just want to make it easier for them. So what type of things can it do? It'll enable you to create lesson plans, exercises, simply by asking it to do it in any language. It can amend lesson plans that currently exist and exercises to meet differentiation. I'm going to get into that because what I didn't say is that I'm neurodiverse myself, and this plays a major part in why we actually built this. And we'll come on to that in a little bit. It'll analyse and incorporate legislation instantly. It'll even compare legislation. So here's the latest, here's the old one. What's the difference? Write it in layman's terms for me. And it'll do that. This is what it's great at. To know the data is from a sound source, not Wikipedia. That's the major source for ChatGPT, was Wikipedia. An application that anybody can write anything on a platform with security the same as Teams. We built this system on the same platform as Teams, so it's completely safe. If you use Teams, you're using the same technology with this. We spent over £1 million developing this. So why did I touch on neurodiversity? That's not a picture of me, but that could have been me as a child. I'm in my 50s now, and as a child back then, if you were neurodiverse, you were slow. Daydreamers, we've all heard it. If you're in education, you know the signs of neurodiversity. And yeah, spent probably up to my mid-20s, 30s, thinking I was stupid, but I wasn't. I was actually quite intelligent, actually, and the government and the military and the British Telecom in particular actually saw that in me and moved on. So it's very important, and I didn't actually know I was neurodiverse until I had a son who's 14 now, and we were worried about him, and the teacher said he's new, and they did pick up on it. To be fair to them, it was great. And it was only when he was going through the tests that me and my wife, Sarah, discovered that we couldn't pass these tests either. And actually, we're neurodiverse. In fact, I think we found out that you were more dyslexic than Angus, and we never knew. But what that did for us is actually make us realise why we were like we were, why there's certain things we had trouble with, friendships, standing up here and talking to lots of people and so on. And we all gravitate, don't we? And for me, that gravitated me to tech and IT, where I were among friends, people who were very similar. So, but the problem we got with that is that when we tried to educate our son, and that's where the problems came in. And, you know, there are some fantastic teachers out there, but we met a couple that weren't. And one of them thought that shaming the dyslexia out of my son was a great option and would do my son a great deal of good. And what came out of that was that that person wasn't educated and hadn't done it and wasn't a SEND individual. So how do you get the message of how to teach neurodiverse kids in a classroom, especially in a classroom of 30? How do you adjust that? Well, what we do is we can write lesson plans in here, and we can add a neurodiversity element. Here's a lesson plan. This isn't the one, I'll come to that. It's not the one that I put up first, but we can build that, and we can say, do me a lesson plan on the Normandy landings. It's topical at the minute. And actually adjust this lesson plan so that it meets the requirements of a dyslexic child. And what it will do is it'll tell you how to do that. It'll even do it for one subject that always gets missed, which is PE. Dyspraxic children need different things in a PE lesson. Well, this would actually tell them what they need to do, how to teach them to catch the ball, how to bounce it maybe. You know, there's various different ways. And this builds it in. And we got one of the top SENDs in Lincolnshire to actually write that element for us. So we taught it how to be a SEND person. We taught it how to analyse. And we did all sorts of other things, and I'm sort of getting into the actual application now. As you can see, unlike chat, where we just have a question there, we actually have subjects. We actually have, and this has actually got the whole curriculum in for these subjects, or many subjects, from Key Stage 3 and 4, and we're now putting in Key Stage 2. Now, when you click on one of those, and like you say, if you select English language in there, and you can see in history, it's actually got Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4. Within there sits all the national curriculum levels, and in this case, we've actually asked a question. I think it's asking questions about specific exam board specs. So AQA, OCR, all of them have different requirements. Well, in this, we've put all their things in there. I mean, there is nearly 100,000 documents in this to actually give you that curriculum. And we actually can ask, so in there, how many teachers' hours should be spent on an EdXL, superpower relations and the Cold War? And it goes on to describe what those are. Here, we're asking questions about specific exam board specifications too. Write a 15-hour schema of work that covers the key questions. This isn't quick questions on chat about write me a quick this. These are detailed, actually taking into account all the things we need to take into account as educators. Give feedback on responses using an AQA English language marking schema. Again, you can paste as much as you want into that top panel and actually get it to actually analyse that. That's why it marks. You could paste a whole student's answer to a question, a thesis even. You could put it in there and say, is this correct? And you can load the schema that actually allows that to be marked properly. So it isn't ChatGPT wondering what it is. This is this doing it. And the applications for this are endless. I mean, we're looking at education now. Imagine if you put all the new legislation into this.
I wouldn't have a job, would I?
It always needs deciphering it. You can put anything into. I've got a friend who's an architect. He's put the whole building regs into this. I've got a friend who's a VAT person. He puts the whole VAT law into this and actually questions it. And when the new changes came out, he asked for a comparison in simple to understand language, and it wrote it up. It'd write it up in 5 different languages if you wanted it to. Creating revision questions and answers. I could go on forever of what might be great ideas for you to use this for. But the reality is, imagine having someone in the room that can read every piece of technical data, every piece of information, retain it and answer it and recall it. It's something we can't do as human beings. We forget things. What is it, 20% we retain? Imagine if you could retain 100% of that and actually answer questions or do whatever you want. Yeah, another one there. And this is the one with the send. So as you can see here, we've not just selected English literature, we've actually selected from the neurodiversity element, dyspraxia. So you don't have to select one of these subject matter experts, for want of a better word. You can select multiples. And in that case, what it did was provide sentence starters or prompts to support a learner with dyslexia to understand the poem My Last Duchess. And off it goes, and it'll meet the requirements. Like I say, I could show you hundreds of these. And again, there's another using context from exam boards. What we find is towards the end of the year, when kids are coming up for their GCSE exams, you run out of test questions. And that we got asked a lot about that, is we're running out of the test questions. Well, this will actually produce them in the actual examination board that you want them to do it for. Create multiple choice questions. So you can actually, I just asked that there to give me 10 questions for multiple choice for the landings at Normandy, and off it goes and it gives you the correct answer. Just delete that bit. It's sort of limitless, really, on what you want to use it for. So now I'm going to give you some shocking statistics, because I would say that probably 15–20% of you put your hand up about using ChatGPT or using AI at the moment. 67% of your students are using it. And what they're using is the internet-trained version. We've got to stop that. We've got to take control.
Can I just add into that? I've got 3 teenagers, and one of them was telling me about her plan for an essay for English, A-level, with an eye. And said, oh, how did you do it? She said, I put it in chat. And then I played around with it, so they both think I could use AI. And they said it was ace.
AI will know it's written it. All these different, so if I actually had someone apply for a job for me, and we always give them a test. Not for AI, it was for the vocational educational part. And I put their work into AI and I said, did you write this? And he went, yeah. I also wrote this other stuff that they've took out. You don't need it, it's there, yeah? And this is with us, 67%. Now, are we going to spend our time trying to catch them so we keep the same old-fashioned ways of assessing children? Or are we going to look at this and reassess how we do it? Because this is actually a great learning tool. Kids go on the internet and learn, don't they? They go on, they search, we all use it. It takes us ages. This is internet with the right answers instantly without Google getting any money. That's why you're finding Google getting a bit scared at the moment, because their revenue stream is going to disappear. 67%. You know, half of the Cambridge students used it. Teachers are using it just as much as students. But what are they using? Are they using the web-based one? I went through and did some analysis on all the teaching aids that promise AI at the moment. All the ones out there. I'm not going to mention names, I don't want to be sued, but they're all out there offering AI. All they've done is write a front end to chat. You're still getting chat. Not one of them has actually built their own data sets for AI to learn from. So it's almost like it's being encouraged. Yeah, but they do have a disclaimer at the bottom, don't believe everything we say. This was alarming. That they think that ChatGPT is better than a tutor. But we don't know that the information they got was correct. We're not in any control of that. And I think as educators, we shouldn't be sitting on the back seat of this. We should be driving it. We shouldn't wait for a government to tell us how we should use AI. We should drive it. We should make it available for our kids. We should make it available for teachers to learn with. But we should be in that much control of it that we are actually dictating what's in that AI. That's the only way we're going to manage this. And I think there's massive time savings for schools, and I think there's great learning opportunities for kids too, because they'd like to use it too. That's true, and that's great. Imagine if it marked the work for you, because it can. It could mark all your work for you, but are you going to ask a web-based, a web-trained AI mark your work? Or do you actually select an AI that you've loaded up the marking criteria for? And I feel quite passionately about it, because we're on a slippery road to being dictated to by the big guys, the Googles, the open AIs, and we shouldn't be. We should be leading this ourselves. So, it's £1 million investment. It's free to use for teachers. It's not a gimmick, there's no credit cards. I've done quite well out of the education sector. I can afford to do this, and I want to do it. But what I need is teachers and schools and academies to come on board and tell me what they want. I'm giving it you for free. We need to start a revolution of this. We need to be in control, educators. That's my thoughts on it. And I guess I've already answered that one, is why it's free. It's free because I've done okay. I feel if this system helps one neurodiverse child through their education, and it doesn't mean that they're 30 years old before they know that they're actually something and intelligent and can make a way in this world, then this is worth it. That's how I feel about it. And yeah, I've probably not got a great deal else to say, and other than come and talk to us. We'll work with you. We'll give it you.
Can I ask a question? That was amazing. Thank you so much. My child's disabled and got lots of conditions, but part of it is autism. He's got autism as well. He's only 6, so obviously it looks like this program is for older children. Then is that correct?
Well, we're working on that as it is. I mean, currently we've been launched 3 months, and I have 15,000 teachers using this currently. It's absolutely taking off. 1, because it's free, but 2, because it's actually, and we've actually built into this so schools can actually separate themselves off. So it's not just a matter of it being open to everybody. A school can have its own list of users, its own admin centre. It's completely built separately.
It's a primary school that can develop.
Yeah. But then what if schools started talking to each other? And actually, one's an actual expert at send and creates an AI that is second to none.
Well, we do, to be fair, around this area, we are quite good, aren't we, at collaborating, and lots of the schools do work, even if they're not a part of that, they do work in partnerships and share information. Yeah. So this is something that they could get together.
Absolutely,
and see how they can develop together.
Yeah, we could actually put that into the top rating AIs for certain subjects from different schools who specialise.
I was thinking about that because I work for the council, but don't judge me, that's what it says.
I worked for government for years, so you're right.
People like council. But what we do have is kind of an economy of scale and a good relationship, I hope, with the school, the 60 schools in the area. So like I'm looking at this and thinking, you need the intelligence from the primary schools, and it's an amazing tool to support staff and staff time. We could do it as a borough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For example, we've got obviously some partners in special school, Gemma's here.
Yes.
So, hello.
I'm scared of Gemma.
She's lovely.
She's got all the money.
What we do find is that teachers aren't protective over that. They're in it for children. They want to, if they've got something great, then they'll want to share it so all kids get it.
The clients I speak to from all different schools are very receptacle to sharing information. So basically, the more people who share and work together, the better, basically, isn't it? Yeah,
and we can change the software. We can make it so that you can all contribute. We can make it so that you dictate which, I could actually vote on which is the best one, so anyway, it's all there, it's all up for grabs. I guess I just want you to get involved, really. I want you to do it.
I've never heard of it before.
No, well, when things are free, you don't have a big bucket of another £1 million to promote it. Yeah, we only... I'll just give you an example. This came about because we're like a Pearson's in Australia for vocational education. We have something like 5,000 or 6,000 qualifications for vocational education. And what I found is an AI was around, so I said, right, let's build our own system. And we put our own materials in, again, not using the web-based stuff. And then we could help my staff write. Because, when you've got that many qualifications, when a new qualification comes out, it contains elements that you've already written. And, over 5-10 years of writing, not everybody remembers what they wrote a year ago. So this enabled them, because it actually, for your documents, it will actually do a search across 10,000 documents for a phrase and pop that up instantly. There's loads of features in it. It cut our writing time down to 50%. We saved 50% on our writing. And none of it was AI. It was just actually learnt from our previous material. It was educated. You could do the same.
If you're trying to write content that you've written a year ago,
trying to find it on the internet.
Instinctually, we were saying about slides from 3 years ago. It's so clever.
So I'm going to say something, but it's gone now. No, you're right, don't worry. So what happened then was the staff who I have working for me, because we're in the UK base now, are all teachers and educators. And one of them said, this would be great as a teacher if I had this. So we had a quiet time, so I got all the teachers together, and that's how this got put together. They spent 6 months, 8 months compiling the data and teaching this AI, and we can just carry on with whatever you want.
Just ask, are there any issues around like intellectual property or uploading content onto third-party products? So, for example, things like GCC Pod that has ready-made content on it, but also has a facility to upload teacher-prepared content on. So if you prepare content through this and upload it to something like GCC Pod that then pushes out to students, there's no issues with...
What we did with this is everything we put in, we purchased. But what this doesn't do is give you a copy of what it's learnt. A bit like a student doing a dissertation. The student at the end of it will say, I reference these documents, I learnt by reading this book, but the work is theirs. The work is and that is unique every time. So it doesn't take excerpts, and it's a bit like us. We buy a book, we read it, and we've learnt from that book, yeah? The book doesn't own copyright of our knowledge in our head, and that's all we've done. We've educated something. So once it's educated, what it's learnt and its knowledge is unique. It can do a search on documents, but only on your documents, not the ones we've put in.
In a ring-fenced portal.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's so clever.
Yeah, this system is, like I say, it runs on the same security. It's on the Azure network. It's actually Teams. It runs the same security level. And your files, let's say that and how you learn it basically is you load your files up, you create a My AI, you give it a name, and it reads all those documents. And it learns from them. And those files, even if I had the physical hard drive in my hand, I couldn't get into it. There is no way it is completely secure using the same principles as Teams. That's why it costs so much to develop, because to me the security element was very important, because if schools, you've got safeguarding issues, you've got all sorts of things, you could just use this as a file repository. It's safe. Any other questions?
You put me to shame.
It's really interesting. I think one of the things we're finding in schools though is that the students are way ahead of the staff in terms of their understanding of AI and IT and how that works. So we're almost running a race that we're 10 yards behind the students, and that's the complexity, I think, of it at the moment.
Honestly, if any school wanted me to come and spend time learning them about it, I will. I'll do whatever it takes to get this going. I think we have got to get ahead of the game. It's not like being a bit behind in computer studies, this. You know, you go to university and you find out actually they haven't even written a bit for AI yet. It's behind. We can't afford to be behind. We don't need to be behind because what we know is just what needs to go in. This is just a tool that actually accesses all the stuff we already know should be in it. So, you know, we can get ahead with this and we can make this available to students too. Why wouldn't you? It's all their curriculum. You could let them look it up. You will have to, there is some element of testing and making sure that they understand. But I think that needs to be reviewed anyway. I don't think exam situations or handing in work is really how to assess it. In Australia, in vocational education, they go through their training, they sit exams, they do all sorts. But you know the final part is witnessing them actually doing that job and actually demonstrating what they've learned. And I don't know, maybe that is somewhere we need to go. And then suddenly learning, you've got access to so much more learning tools.
Something that I've seen in the recruitment of talent players in AI was following any kind of conferences. An ex-colleague of mine would run, he would kind of host little mini feeding sessions for AI tools.
Yeah.
So you'd get kind of professionals that worked across the recruitment and talent space that might typically sit in a club, judges, and then all log into kind of ChatGPT and try and teach and influence and like sanity check. So it'd be interesting to see if we could get some educators, maybe not in a pub or maybe in a pub.
Pub sounds good to me.
So kind of have a chat about it and like test it in that way and give it a feed.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll gain momentum. It's gaining momentum. I've got 15,000 teachers on in 3 months and I'm not, you guys didn't even know about it. So you do now, tell all your friends, get them on. This isn't a money-making racket for us. This is something we feel very passionately about. And I think that, I mean, wouldn't it be great if a union got on with this? If a union actually came up and said, yeah, this is going to really help our and actually work with me, they could have it.
No, we don't want any.
Yeah. You'd be biased.
As a lawyer. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
I was really excited when David said yes, because I thought, knowing how time poor everybody is in education, I just thought this would be something that kind of opens up all sorts of possibilities. And I know as well, part of the reason Adam was saying there about students being miles ahead of us is because they're not frightened of technology, they just use it. And then we're all like, can someone show me please? I don't want to press the wrong button. So, you know, actually, you know, sometimes I've done it with my own children, just sitting and them showing me what they're playing around with is a good way of kind of building your confidence up. But, you know, by all means, take David up on that offer because I think it's a fantastic one.